So hello and welcome back to my channel. You're watching What Helen Reads and I'm Helen, and today I've got some romance recommendations for you that will be perfect for you to read on holiday. So we're in the middle of June now and I'm sure many of you are already planning a getaway. Some of you may have been on holiday already, but hopefully you are still planning and preparing to go away during the summer months. So if you're anything like me, I love a holiday where I just get to sit back and relax and can read whatever I want, as many books as I want during my vacation. But because it's normally sunny and warm, then I tend to gravitate towards more uplifting, happier books rather than some of the darker romances that I tend to read. And I think it's always a perfect time to read a good rom-com. So today I thought I'd share with you some of my favourite rom-coms that I've read recently that I think would be perfect for you to take with you if you're going on a summer holiday. And a lot of these are also part of a series, so if you really like one of the books, then there's more for you to be going at and you can binge some of the series while you're away. Okay, so the first one I want to mention is a book called Seducing Lola by Jessica Prince. This one is a fake dating sort of romantic comedy. And it's available for you to download on Kindle Unlimited. Now, it's book one of a series called Girl Talk, of which there are 4 books, and in this particular one we're following Grayson and Lola. So Lola is a radio show host, and she hosts a radio show with 2 of her friends called Girl Talk, and basically it's one of those types of shows where they talk about men and give relationship advice to other women. Now Grayson is a billionaire and he actually owns a radio station where Lola works, but unbeknownst to Lola, he's her boss. Now their very first meeting is a bit of a meet cute in a coffee shop, and they have a really cute little meeting. They have a little bit of chemistry, a bit of banter, a bit of flirting, and when she goes back to the radio station, a scenario takes place live on air which basically embarrasses Grayson, but also then puts her career in jeopardy and she's at risk of losing her job. So from a marketing and PR perspective, the company basically says to her she needs to fake date Grayson so that he can save face because she's embarrassed him on air, and then it'll be really good for the show and also basically his reputation if they kind of fake date. So that's what they do and their romance goes from there. What I love about this, it is absolutely a rom-com. It's so funny. There's real laugh out loud moments and some scenes in this book I still remember, and every now and then have a little chuckle to myself as well. So while you're reading this one, make sure you're in an environment where if you do laugh out loud, people aren't going to give you strange looks. So like I said, there's 3 more books in this series, so if you love the first one then you can absolutely get stuck into the others. They're all absolutely fantastic, and that gives you basically 4 books to read during your holiday. So on a similar vein, another author I really like for kind of rom-com, this sort of rom-com style, is Sabrina Stark, and I recommend Boom, which is book 1 in the Blast Brothers series. It's a spicy sort of love to hate rom-com, sort of enemies to lovers, and this one is available for you to read on Kindle Unlimited as well. Now in this one we're following Arden and Brody, and Brody is one of the Blast brothers. After college he went into business with his brothers, and they kind of are a construction sort of company selling tools. So they're Blast Brothers Tools basically is their kind of their company name. And Brody used to know Arden at school, so they basically were lab partners, so they basically did chemistry experiments together while they're at school, and due to an accident at school there was a bit of an accident in the lab, and Arden unfortunately ends up blowing up Brody's truck. So they kind of like are left when their relationship sort of finishes, or they move away from high school. Their relationship is left in a very precarious and dodgy situation where they really don't get on and like each other, because Brody's not too happy she blew up his truck, but also because of this incident it put her college scholarship and tuition and everything in jeopardy, and she's been struggling ever since. Now it's 6 years later, so this is sort of like that incident at school happens prior, and now we've moved 6 years on, so these guys are sort of in their mid-20s, and they are kind of reunited because Brody has recently bought a house that needs a lot of work and doing up, and Arden's grandmother used to own this house, and she actually inherited it with her cousin, but the cousin has been stealing money from her and has basically sold this property out from under her, so she's kind of come back to town to try and get this property back and to do it up, and obviously then this puts her back into close proximity with Brody, and they kind of have this very, you know, fractious relationship to start off with, as they realise who each other is. They've obviously still been harbouring a lot of ill feelings towards each other, but now they're kind of stuck together, living together and trying to do up this house. And so obviously they're in close proximity together, and they've kind of like, you know, their relationship goes from there. So I really like this one. Like I said, it is, you know, a lot of sort of, you know, hijinks, a lot of miscommunication between them, but not in a necessarily an annoying way, just in terms of making the plot fun and funny and sort of comedic in that sense. But their romance is still really good. The chemistry between them is great, and so I highly recommend for a beach holiday. Then the next one I want to recommend is Puck Me Secretly by Odette Stone, and I read this originally a couple of years ago, and I've recently done a reread of this one via audiobook, but I love Odette Stone's series. So this is book 1 in her Vancouver Wolves ice hockey series, and the whole series is absolutely fantastic. I'm working my way back through them on audiobook at the moment, but I really love Puck Me Secretly and would recommend it for a beach read because, again, it's kind of like an uplifting kind of light sort of romance. It's still, you know, there's still a lot of depth to their relationship, but it is the start of a great series, which again, while you're on holiday, is an ideal opportunity to sort of download and binge. So this one as well is available for you to read on Kindle Unlimited, and we're following Maxx and Rory. Now, if you are going on holiday, I just want to say, I hope you're not going on a plane, but if you are, don't read this one while you're on the plane or if you're afraid of flying, because the very start of this book does involve the main characters, Maxx and Rory, being in a plane crash. So essentially, Maxx is an ice hockey player. He's got one more chance to save his career, and he's just been picked up by the Vancouver Wolves, and he's on his way to Vancouver to start his new job. And he gets onto the plane, and he happens to be sitting next to Rory, who's our heroine, and she happens to be the daughter of the GM for the Vancouver Wolves. They don't know, obviously at that time they don't know each other, so they don't realise that this is the case. But during this flight and the turbulence and the you know, the following kind of plane crash, they form quite a strong relationship together. She is very grateful for the support that he gives her. She's very, very scared, and talks her through it and helps her out. And after the plane crashes and she passes out, he basically picks her up, takes her to safety, and they also share a night together in a hotel room as well. The following morning they kind of make, you know, go their separate ways, but of course when they both turn up for work, then they realise who each other is, and the relationship kind of goes from there. So again, would highly recommend this one, and if you love sort of sports romances or ice hockey romances in general, then this whole series is absolutely fantastic from Odette Stone, so I would highly recommend. Then the next one I think would be good for summer holiday, and in fact I read this last year while I was on my own summer holiday, and it's Wolf Gone Wild by Juliette Cross, and this is book 1 in her Stay a Spell series. It's a paranormal romance. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, and this one is a romance between a witch and a werewolf. So we're following Matteo, who is a werewolf. Now, he's had some sort of hex put on him, or we believe he may have had some sort of hex put on him because he can't turn into his wolf, and his inner wolf is making him mad, literally, where he hears the alpha voice of the wolf in his head, and it's absolutely driving him crazy, and he needs help because he just, you know, without being able to release the wolf, it's driving him literally mad. So he goes and seeks the help of one of the Savoy sisters, who is a witch, and she is known to be a hex breaker. So he goes to seek her help. Now this is a pretty big deal because the werewolves are not well loved in the paranormal community, and the Savoy sisters in particular tend to stay away from werewolves. But when Evie, who is the heroine in this one, she sees how in need Matteo is, she convinces her elder sister Jules to let her help him, and they need to spend a lot of time together for them to figure out what's going on, what kind of hex it is and how they might break it. And so they're obviously in close proximity together, and while she's near to him, it very much soothes his alpha wolf inside, and that basically you know, gives him an extra bit of time before things go wild. So I'm putting this one in this one because I really love this series as a whole. Again, it's something for you to really get your teeth into. If you enjoy it, you can make your way through them while you're on holiday. But overall, this series is very heartwarming and family orientated, and sort of about found family and how people help each other out. There's some really cute moments in this one as well. There's a lot of Star Wars references in this one, you know, it's quite sweet and endearing, and just gives you all the lovely warm feelings for you, rather than it being something that's, like, you know, really dark and sinister, which you might not want to read while you're sitting in the sunshine. So the next one I want to recommend is Heartless by Elsie Silver, and this is a small town sort of cowboy romance. It's book 2 in the Chestnut Springs series, and it is available for you to read on Kindle Unlimited. Now this one is also a nanny sort of romance as well. So basically the hero in this one, Cade, is a single father, and he needs somebody during the summer holidays to look after his son, and that's where we meet Willa, who is the heroine, and she comes to basically help him out and nanny for his son during the summer holidays. So I really like this one because it does have summer vibes. We are in a summer holiday setting, but also the romance itself is absolutely fantastic. We love a single dad. Willa is absolutely amazing, not only with Cade but with the son as well, and it's just an all over fantastic read. So I'm sure you've probably heard quite a lot about this one already, so I won't go on about it too much. But if you haven't read any of Elsie Silver's books yet, I would highly recommend it. And although I'm recommending this one, it is book 2 in the series. If you feel that you would want to read the rest, then definitely start with Flawed, which is book 1, and then make your way through, because there's 4 books now out in that series. So then after that, the next one is Revved to the Max by Melanie Moreland. This one's also available in Kindle Unlimited, and it's book 1 in the Reynolds Restoration series. In this one, we're sort of following Max and Charlie, and again, this is sort of like a small town rom-com style of book, and there's a bit of an age gap going on as well with this one. Now this is one of my sort of favourites from the first part of the year, and I read it earlier this year and I've absolutely loved it, and the other books in the series are really good as well, so I would highly recommend the whole series. So Max is our hero, and he owns the Reynolds Restorations business. It's kind of like a garage that kind of like does services and MOTs on cars and things, but they also specialise in motorbike restorations and car restorations. Now he is in desperate need of help. He is not coping so well looking after the garage by himself and his home and everything, and so his friend convinces him to put an ad in the paper for a sort of Boy Friday, Man Friday, whatever you want to call it, but basically an all-round assistant to Max. Now he puts this ad in the paper, and that's how we meet Charlie. So Charlie is the heroine, and she has got herself into a bit of a situation. She needs to move out of her flat. She can't afford to pay the rent anymore. Her landlord is really obnoxious and is trying to get sexual favours out of her in return for her rent, and she's sort of like backed into a bit of a corner. And then she sees this ad in the paper with Max needing this Boy Friday, and she applies. Now because her name is Charlie, Max assumes that she's a boy, and she doesn't correct Max to say actually I'm female, because she thinks when she turns up for the job it'll be too late and Max will have to take her on, and she's so desperate for the job she goes. And with the last dollar in her pocket, she buys a bus ticket and gets herself to the place where he lives. Now she arrives a night early before she's supposed to actually meet up with Maxx, and she ends up in the local pub, and Maxx is also in there, and they don't realise who each other is, but one thing leads to another. They really hit it off, got great chemistry, and they end up spending the night together. Now the next morning, when they realise that Charlie's actually going to work for Maxx, he is fairly angry about this. He feels like she's deceived him and lied to him, but she begs him for an opportunity and a chance, and he kind of makes it very clear that the night before was just a one-time thing, and now she's his employee, nothing like that is going to happen again, and they try and keep it platonic. But of course, as she starts to work with him and she's sort of living in his house and working with him every day, they end up, starting a relationship together just because they can't resist each other and can't stay away from each other. So I really like this one. Again, there was quite a lot of really good banter. Charlie was a great character. There was some really good side characters in this one, and overall just thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really light-hearted, left me smiling throughout, and thoroughly enjoyed, and I really like the rest of the series, like I'd said. So another great one to read on a sunny day. Then the next one is a recent read, but also a 5-star read, so it was one of the favourites from last month, and this was A Deal with the Devil by Elizabeth O'Rourke. It's a contemporary romance, and also I guess you could categorise it as a workplace romance as well. Definitely a rom-com. Now this one's also available on Kindle Unlimited, and it's book 1 in the Grumpy Devils series. And in this one, we're following Hayes and Tarly. Now, Hayes is a plastic surgeon to the stars. He lives in LA, and he is extremely wealthy. And he's got a personal assistant who needs to take some time off work because he's going to Spain to adopt a child, and he's going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. And so basically he needs a backup assistant. Now his assistant asked his best friend to do this because they've tried to find someone to do it and no one can work with Hayes, and so he asked his best friend to do it, and his best friend is Tarly, and at first she doesn't want to do the job because she's heard a lot of things about Hayes. She's definitely formed an opinion about him. She thinks he's a bit of a ladies' man, a bit of a rogue. He's got a reputation for kind of like sleeping with women but never seeing them again. And so she's kind of a bit put off, and she's not really sure she wants to work for this guy. But her best friend convinces her to do it, so she agrees. Now, one of the reasons Talia agrees is because she is also desperate for cash. She had an ex-boyfriend who was like an actor, and he got a job in Hollywood and got fairly famous, and he basically dumped her and kind of left her on her own, struggling to pay the rent and everything in LA. Now she's a budding author, and she's halfway through a manuscript which the publishers have actually given her an advance for, but she's already spent the money because she needs to support her mother and sister as well. So she's already spent the money. She has now got writer's block, and she can't finish the manuscript, and so she's desperate for cash. So like I say, she ends up taking this job working for Hayes. And then what follows for me is absolutely brilliant. When I reviewed this before, I kind of described it between a cross between the movie, The Ugly Truth and What's Your Number. Not because the storylines follow that in any way, it was just a feeling I got when I was reading it. It was so fun. There was so much banter between this couple. They did a lot of ribbing of each other, but also over the course of the book they spent a lot of time together. They grew to like each other, they grew to become friends, but also started to realise they had an attraction to each other and feelings for each other as well. So I really like the fact that the majority of the scenes in this book were of them two together, and just basically all the scenarios they kind of got themselves into, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it, so would highly recommend that one. And then finally, this is probably a little bit of a wild card really. I'm actually going to recommend an older book, but also one that is not indie published. So this is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. So Sophie Kinsella is known, really well known for her Shopaholic series, but she's also done a lot of you know, standalone romances as well, and I actually prefer those. I'm not a massive fan of the Shopaholic series overall, but I love some of her standalones. And one of my favourites that I absolutely loved when I read it, and like I say, it's a very old book now, so it's been out a number of years, was Can You Keep a Secret? Now, again, very similar to Book Me Secretly. If you are flying, if you're going on holiday and you're taking a plane, maybe don't read this one on the plane, or if you do, make sure you're not afraid to fly, because this is another scenario where the couple end up sitting next to each other on a flight, and during the flight there is a lot of turbulence. It appears that the flight might crash, and as a result the heroine, who is Emma, basically spills her guts all over Jack. Not literally, like not vomit, but as in she tells him everything. She tells him everything about herself, everything about work, all the things she wants to do, all the things she's never done, and it's absolutely hilarious. The problem with this though is that Jack is actually going to be her new boss, and of course, in a very similar situation again to Book Me Secretly, when after the plane crash and they've gone their separate ways and they both turn up for work, that's when Emma realises who Jack is, and Jack is her new boss. But not only that, she's spilled quite a lot of secrets about work and some of the things she does or maybe doesn't do at work, and then she's got a lot of backtracking to do after that. So this whole situation I felt was really, really funny. There's lots of comedic moments in this one, but as they grow closer and get to know each other better, their relationship definitely, you know, kind of spreads and blooms, and ultimately, of course, they get their happy ever after. So this is the only book that I've recommended, like I said, that's probably not indie published. It's also not available on Kindle Unlimited, and when I looked the other day, it was £3.99, so I don't know what that would translate to in other currencies, but I think if you like the sound of it, then it's absolutely worth the price. Sophie Kinsella is a really good author, and I really enjoy her books. There is a little bit of spice in it. It's lighter on the spice than some of the indie books that I tend to read and recommend, but there is some spice in the book. It's not completely a spice-free romance. So anyway, there you have it. That's just 8 recommendations for you if you're going on holiday. Hopefully that's enough to get you through the week, but like I said, if you like any of these books, either the books themselves are part of a series which you can download and move on to the next one in the series, or the author has got some great other options as well for you. So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure to comment in the comments box down below if you've got any recommendations for the summer holidays yourselves, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content from me. So thank you very much. Wherever you go in this summer, I hope you have a lovely time, and I'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe. Our hero. Take a step back, Helen. This one is a fight. Okay, so testing 1 2 3, just checking now, so that basically everything goes over here, and if that's on my right side when I'm looking at the screen, it'll be on the left, so that is correct.